Look how much African American communities have suffered under Democratic control. Tonight, I'm asking for the vote of every single African American citizen in this country who wants to see a better future.
Well, Donald Trump, they're making his case to African American and Hispanic voters, arguing that the Democrats have abandoned them.
Here to weigh in, Republican strategist Philip Stutz and Democratic strategist Evangeline Gomez. Thank you both for joining us so early this morning.
Good morning.
So off the very top, let's take a look at this poll. This is from the LA Times and USC, and it shows Clinton up 82.9% compared to Trump's 12.8% when it comes to the African American vote. So, Philip, I'll start with you. Is it possible for Donald Trump to change those numbers, and what does he need to do in order to do that?
Well, I think you've seen the beginning of it, which is reaching out. Listen, there's no way you're going to start out and take the African-American vote by one speech, and the African-American community knows that. I think he's trying to build a coalition to get his numbers up in the African-American community, in the Hispanic community, so he can build a coalition in key states in order to compete with Hillary Clinton right now. And so the bottom line, the key is try to get those numbers up just a little bit more than what they have right now.
Well, Evangeline, this is not just a Donald Trump thing. I mean, you look at some of our exit polling from the past 2 cycles in terms of how Democrats and Republicans have done with the African-American vote. I mean, it really is not even close. You look at this 2008, 95% of black voters went with President Obama. 2012, 93% voted for President Barack Obama.
The problem here is that Donald Trump is viewed by many people in the African-American community as being the originator of the birther movement, where he attacked President Obama personally and politically, saying he had no legitimacy. Number 2, do we remember the days of the Central Park Five? These were Hispanic and black youths who were exonerated, found innocent, and yet he was calling that the death penalty be imposed on them. He took out an ad in a major newspaper in New York City. And then once the city reached a settlement with them, he said it was ridiculous and it was a disgrace.
Well, that
These
settlement
are
was
serious issues in the African-American community, and this is something that has been reflected in the polls. One recent poll has him at 1%, Wall Street Journal poll, and a prior poll had him at 0% support among African Americans. Wow. I don't think the overtures he's making now are going to make any type of significant
Philip, go ahead.
Well, listen, I mean, right now, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, McCain and Romney were polling at about 5% of the African-American vote. If you look at a combination of different polls right now, Trump is around 3. And so he needs to get 2, 3 more points in key states and build another coalition of white Democrats, turning out new voters, turning out between 25, 27% of the Hispanic vote. Right now he's at 20%. That's the makeup of what he's got to do to get elected.
And Evangeline, what about, I mean, respond to that in terms of the economic numbers of the African-American community. I mean, that's what Donald Trump is out there right now trying to speak to. And, you know, as Philip said, what, 4 in 10 African-Americans live in poverty. 58% of African-American youth don't have jobs right now.
And what plans has Donald Trump proposed to alleviate these situations? I have not heard any at this point. If he's going to create some, that's fine, but at this point, there is no trust for the candidate Donald Trump. The comments he's made against Hispanics, immigrants, and Muslims leave African Americans thinking, hey, what's that famous Martin Niemöller poem? I mean, that's exactly the situation you have right now, and I just don't see any significant numbers coming out of whatever.
Well, we are beginning to see a change in tone. And I think Donald
Trump,
of
tone.
Well, and Donald Trump's campaign manager, she spoke yesterday. She said that he had the best week yet last week. Take a listen to what she had to say.
This was the best week, I think, so far in the Trump campaign, mostly because he's able to be himself, the authentic Donald Trump. He has said that he regrets causing personal pain to those who feel it based on things that he has said. I do believe that this is what people appreciate.
Philip, what, less than 80 days now, but in politics, really anything can happen in that amount of time. Can he make a comeback in the polls where it really counts in the swing states?
Yeah, Abby, that's a really great point. Anything can happen. Listen, think about this. North Carolina starts mailing ballots in 3 weeks. Florida votes before Halloween. We're not just looking at 85 days. We're looking at sometimes a lot less than that, where the vote is actually going to start happening. It's coming, guys. And so the reset's great. know, I don't think he's in Hail Mary zone. I think he's throwing a 30-yard pass down the field right now. But listen, the 4 critical states, North Carolina, Ohio, Florida, and Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is kind of out of reach right now. So he's got to find another group of states that make up for those electoral votes. You could find that in Nevada, in New Hampshire, in Iowa, and possibly Virginia. But the numbers on the electoral count look tough right now, and he's got to have a major reset. And then if there's an October surprise, which there very well could be, that would be the key difference.
There has been an October surprise before. We've seen that happen.
Good point, Heather.
Thank you both for joining us. Philip, we appreciate it. Evangeline as well. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Secretary Powell has admitted he did exactly the same thing.
Now we know Colin Powell had a private email account.
Just recently, Colin Powell's emails were retroactively classified from more than 10 years ago.
Right.
As he said, that was an absurdity. I could not agree more.
Hillary Clinton pointing the finger at Colin Powell for her email scandal, telling the FBI that the former Secretary of State told her to use a private server because that's what he did.
And now the FBI is trying to figure out if Clinton lied during her July 4th interview, and if she did, what happens now? Well, Victoria Toensing was President Reagan's Deputy Assistant Attorney General. She joins us now. Joy and Victoria, thanks for waking up so early for us.
Yes.
All right, well,
it's early.
It is early. Let's start with that. This story just doesn't die. If it comes out that she did lie, how serious is that? What does that mean for Hillary Clinton?
There's not going to be an indictment of Hillary Clinton for what she said about Clayton Powell for 2 important reasons. And the first one is the cavalier way the FBI conducted the interview. They didn't have a court reporter there. They used what they used for witness interviews. They had an FBI agent who sat and took notes about whatever the FBI agent thought was important about what Hillary said. It is just darn near impossible to indict somebody for a statement made that somebody else wrote down. There would be disagreement over what she said.
Yeah.
No one took her exact words and wrote them down. Now, you would think that the FBI would, knowing that these people can't even agree on what the definition of is, and that throughout this whole thing, she's gone around saying, I didn't take any document that was marked classified, when that actually wasn't true and she should have known what was classified. You would have taken someone like that they would have brought a court stenographer to take down her exact words, and they have ensured that she will not be indicted for perjury for any statement made in that entire interview.
And not only that, I mean, from what I understand, the original reports that came out, she was not under oath either to begin with.
Well, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because 18 U.S.C. 1001, which is how we refer to it, it's a crime to say anything, to make a material false statement to a government official, and that includes the FBI. But that's the second reason why there will not be an indictment, because the statement has to be false. You can lie to the FBI, but it has to be a material statement, and that means, would it influence the decision maker? Now, if she could have said, Colin Powell sat me down for an hour and forced me to do it, and Colin Powell would say, no, I never even talked to her. But that is not a legal defense. The devil made me do it, or Colin Powell suggested I do it, is not a legal defense.
Well, now he's being dragged into it. He's saying, I don't want to be part of this. Here's what he told People magazine. He said, her people have been trying to pin it on me. The truth is, she was using the private email server for a year before I sent her a memo telling her what I did. He's clearly saying, I don't want any part of this. You guys are trying to put the blame on me now.
Well, what Hillary's statement about Colin Powell is a political ploy. It's a political defense, and it's PAP, which she's been doing for the whole year, where she has tried to conflate, confuse people by it. You know, we can't determine what is. We don't know what it is. And it means Colin Powell had a private account, email account, but it's a server, stupid. Colin Powell didn't have something in his bathroom that was taking in all the State Department documents. You can understand why somebody would want to have a private account. You don't want your doctor's, you know, and your family's emails, so you'd have a private account. But it was the server that
significant difference between a private server and a private email. But I do want to ask you one more question, because we have to go now. The latest news on these additional emails, because Hillary Clinton had said that she had released all of the emails, 30,000. Now additional almost 15,000 have been discovered.
Well, I think you go back and we have parsing again. I believe that statement was, I turned over all the emails in my possession. She's always finding her out. And she hasn't been held to account for it.
Yeah, they're saying they might be released even before the election.
Yeah, and you have to listen to every single word that they say because that makes a difference.
Victoria, thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you so much. Appreciate you getting up early. Clinton Foundation under fire. Some brand new details about the close relationship with the charity and the State Department.
And this as a judge orders an expedited release of 15,000 more Hillary Clinton emails. Kristen Fisher's live from Washington with more on this. Kristen, good morning.
Good morning. So more evidence has emerged of foreign donors allegedly trying to buy access to Hillary Clinton while she was Secretary of State by giving money to her foundation. For instance, according to emails released yesterday by the conservative group Judicial Watch, the Crown Prince of Bahrain was forced to go through the foundation to see Clinton, but only after he pledged $32 million. U2 frontman Bono, he reportedly begged for help to use the International Space Station for concerts. I'm not sure that ever happened, though. I would have certainly remembered that. And then Fox News found that a Clinton Foundation executive left almost 150 messages over a 2-year period for Clinton's top aide at the State Department. Now, if Clinton wins in November, Bill Clinton has promised to stop all foreign donations. But Trump says the foundation should be shut down. And it's not just the foundation that's turning up the heat on Clinton. We've got more news about her emails. The FBI says it found nearly 15,000 previously undisclosed work-related emails over the course of their investigation. The FBI has handed them over to the State Department, which is now reviewing them internally. A federal judge is now ordering an expedited release, possibly before the election. But Clinton, she didn't seem too worried about it during an appearance last night on Jimmy Kimmel. Hackers can hack into your FaceTimes, too. Nothing is safe. Now, today, Clinton will continue her fundraising swing through California. She's attending a big fundraiser tonight at the home of Justin Timberlake. Heather and Abby, I'm pretty sure that would cost a pretty penny to get into that one.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
I bet that costs more than the George Clooney one. I wonder.
You think?
Which
JT?
One?
Oh, not more than George Clooney. Come on.
We should take a bet on that.
Justin Timberlake, dancing, singing. Oh, well.
Thanks, Kristen.
Good point.
Thank you.
Donald Trump now taking direct aim at the Clinton Foundation, calling for a special prosecutor to investigate. And this as the Republican nominee heads to Texas today for a Hannity town hall. Kelly Wright is live in our nation's capital with the latest from the Team Trump campaign. Kelly, good morning.
Abby, good morning to you as well. If elected president, Donald Trump says he will hire a special prosecutor immediately to investigate the Clinton Foundation. He calls it the, quote, most corrupt enterprise in political history. Trump is blasting Hillary Clinton, claiming that as Secretary of State, she ran a pay-to-play operation that allowed money from foreign countries to flow into Clinton Foundation. Trump wants a special prosecutor because he does not trust the FBI to investigate her.
The FBI or Department of Justice whitewashed Hillary Clinton's email crimes. They certainly cannot be trusted to quickly or impartially investigate Hillary Clinton's new crimes, which happen all the time.
While some have said that Trump is changing his stance on illegal immigration, his campaign manager Kellyanne maintains that Trump is committed to dealing with illegal immigration in a fair and firm way.
He will enforce the law, which will take care of a lot of that. He will deport those who have absolutely committed a crime, been convicted of a crime. He will make sure that American jobs are protected. He will absolutely build that wall.
And Trump is trailing Clinton in most national polls by 6 to 9 points. But in some battleground states, Trump appears to be narrowing the gap. In Ohio, for example, he is now within 4 points of Hillary Clinton. Abby and Heather, back to you.
Yeah, he's certainly going to be using this in the coming days.
Thank you, Kelly.
Move on down to our nation's capital. Laura Ingraham, the editor-in-chief of Life Z and a Fox News contributor, joins us. Good morning to you, Laura.
Good morning.
First of all, Dolly Parton is don't you hate saying living legend because it makes people sound old, but she is one of the, frankly, last real greats in country music. I mean, we've lost a lot of people in recent years, but she's a singer, songwriter, incredible talent, has sung with everybody, from Johnny Cash to Loretta Lynn. I mean, everybody loves Dolly, so that's fantastic. I'm jealous.
All right, so one thing has changed, Laura, since the last time we spoke. There are 14,900 new emails that are going to be uncovered shortly if we could ever get them out of the State Department. And some of the revelations that have already been out there, for example, the Crown Prince of Bahrain
who gave $37 million to the Clinton Foundation, is there trying to get a meeting with Hillary Clinton and using that as leverage. What's going on here?
Well, everything that we surmised about the Clinton Foundation and these most recent revelations turn out to be true. We believed from the beginning that one of the reasons Hillary Clinton set up this private server was that she wanted to shield her communications about what the real purpose of the Clinton Foundation was. Now we know the real purpose of the Clinton Foundation is to make the Clintons' lives better in order to sell access, sell influence, and use it as a pass-through mechanism for helping Hillary Clinton. And what we have to remember, everyone watching has to remember, foreign entities, people or corporations or countries cannot give money directly to American politicians. It's in violation of federal election law. Right. But they can give money to a foundation like the Clinton Foundation, which is why the foundation itself, guys, was so problematic from the outset, knowing that Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State or going to be Secretary of State or going to be president. This was always going to be a vehicle used to influence and to get basically graft. And that's what it was. And we're going to be learning more about this in the days to come. But for all the people who are complaining about this or that tweet Donald Trump sends, give me a break. This is a woman who used her position to enable a foundation to spread influence all over our U.S. government, which is in violation of federal law unless it went to a foundation. But it looks like a pass-through mechanism, pure and simple.
Oh, but Hillary says those emails, Laura, are so boring. Listen to what she said last night.
Yeah. On her seat was supposed to be shredded. That didn't happen. All these people who got access and special perks because they gave big money.
Like the guy who started Slim Fast.
Yeah, the mogul, he wound up with special perks as well. It's hard to tell where the Clinton Foundation stopped and the State Department
started.
No
I mean, for all intents and purposes, there was no difference. Yeah. Huma Abedin acted as Hillary's proxy. And when you wanted to get something done, you went to Huma. That's how it worked. Everybody knew that, knew that's how it worked. That's why they ended up going through her. So she ends up being Hillary's proxy at the foundation. And again, I think they get lost in some of the details here. The thing that people have to keep asking, this question, how over the last couple of decades, with all their time in public service, did the Clintons get so rich when so many in America were getting so poor? Right. How did it happen? Like just giving speeches, you get $120 million? Like what? I mean, this stinks to high heaven. It's beyond obvious for anyone who wants to be fair, and it shouldn't be Republican or Democrat. Right. This is about the public trust and whether we can trust public officials to work on our behalf. Or is it just going to be always for what's good for the Clintons? And it's always been what's good for the Clintons.
You got to just wonder if the Democrats are going to have any standards for their vote. Do people have to at all have any standards? Oh, what about that Iranian deal that dominated the headlines last week? It was supposed to heal the process between the countries. How's that going? First we hear about the ransom, then we get a travel warning. Our travel warning is, hey, by the way, look out when you go to Iran. Let's listen to the White House spokesperson, Josh Earnest. Tell us, it might be trouble if you want a vacation there.
Unbelievable.
Our story on this and the way that we have described what our goals are have not changed. I'm happy to spend all the time that you would like talking about the details of the Iran agreement. The president spoke publicly on live national television laying out the terms of this agreement. There are so many details that were included in what were extraordinarily complex agreements. I can't go back through all of the questions that all of you have asked.
But look out, you could get kidnapped if you go.
You know, I was thinking about this, guys, and I thought, all these Republicans who are dumping on Donald Trump, saying, oh, well, you shouldn't support Trump, just support the down ticket people running in Senate races and so forth. I'm thinking about all these Republicans. And then I think of the Democrats. The Democrats never jump ship on the Hillary Clinton or Obama. They don't criticize them. They don't say, gee, that was kind of, it looks like they couldn't release the hostages until they got the money. That seems like ransom to me. I mean, there is not a scintilla of criticism coming from the Democrats when everything's on the line. We had the presidential election on the line in 2012 when Benghazi happened. None of them wanted to criticize. Now we have all these emails, all the lies that are documented from Hillary Clinton. We have the Iran fiasco. None of the Democrats have a shred of honor to even ask a question or even a glance in criticism of what these people have done. And again, for me, that is amazing. It's a sharp contrast from the Republicans dumping on someone for a tweet. And meanwhile, Hillary and Barack Obama were in office orchestrating America's decline.
You know, the Republican Party's been like that since the very, remember when there were 16 candidates, they were all going after each other, and so many people said that very thing, and it hasn't, still hasn't.
But now it's down to one. But now it's down to one. And for all these never-Trumpers out there who are like, well, Donald Trump's just as bad as Hillary Clinton. Are you out of your mind? Look at what these people have done to America. He was building buildings. Look at what they have done to this country that we love. And they're the same people? Come on.
And they're about to give them the job again. They think they won already.
All right, Laura, you got plenty to talk about on your radio show that starts at the top of the next hour. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Laura. Look at this, man. There is the sheriff of Milwaukee County, Sheriff David Clarke. Thanks for joining us, Sheriff.
Good morning.
Yes, your reaction to Hillary Clinton's big announcement?
You know, typical liberals, you know, they don't think they're susceptible to nonsense. You could feed a liberal a crap sandwich and tell them it's beef tenderloin, they'd believe it.
Right. Whoa. Okay, that's interesting. That wasn't on my notes. First off, Sheriff, let's talk about some serious stuff, and let's talk about the latest on the Milwaukee shooting that caused such an uproar 2 weeks ago. When are we going to see the body cam cameras that give the point of view of the officer the night of the shooting?
Well, the Attorney General, who's leading the investigation, held a news conference yesterday and said that they still have some work to do, and he doesn't want to release anything early, that it might be a little bit before he releases the body cams that the officers were wearing. It's really going to be up to the district attorney. He wants this case in the hands of the prosecutors to make their decision before piecemealing this thing and spoon-feeding the public with it.
Do you agree with that decision?
I agree because I trust Brad Schimmel. I know Brad Schimmel well, and the guy's thorough. The guy's got a lot of integrity, and he has to weigh the best interests of the investigation at this point, and he has to fight off, you know, unlike what Marilyn Mosby did in Baltimore. He's got to fight off all of that pressure and stay focused on this investigation. We want to get to the right decision.
That's good to know, because if we hear you say that, that makes us trust him, because we don't live there. You know what's going on behind the scenes.
Sheriff, I'm sure you've been watching some of the Donald Trump rallies. He was in Akron last night, and he was praising law enforcement, but at the same time, he was also talking about how some liberal policies have led to some poor conditions in the United States. Listen to this.
I want to take this opportunity to thank the law enforcement and police officials that are here with us tonight. And all across the country for their service and sacrifice in these very dangerous, especially for them, dangerous and difficult times. They are terrific. So thank you to law enforcement and police. Working with citizens and police, we will bring safety to communities across this land, but especially to those and these places that have not known safety in a very, very long time.
You know what, Sheriff, he kind of sounded like you did on this program last week, where he was talking about, just as you were talking last week, about how some liberal policies have led to poor conditions across certain parts of the United States.
You know, I think it's a brilliant move by Donald Trump to seek the black vote, to go out there and actually plead for it. I heard him pleading for black votes. You don't really see Republican candidates do that at election time and even, you know, after. But the thing is, Donald Trump and I had a conversation when he was here in Milwaukee, and then I ran that down to him, the urban pathologies, not just in Milwaukee, in Baltimore and Chicago. Do you know that more people have been murdered in the city of Chicago since the beginning of 2016? 455 people have been murdered, mostly black. than coalition forces in Afghanistan since the start of the Obama second term in 2013. I mean, that's staggering in the United States of America, but there seems to be no sense of urgency on the part of anybody. These hellholes cities. The American ghetto has replaced the plantation where Democrats have a large segment of black people herded onto. Their miserable conditions, inescapable poverty. They have to send their kids to failing public schools, massive unemployment, crime, violence, and disorder. These people have wrecked great American cities with this progressive urban policy.
Yeah, something has to be done there.
Sheriff, do you think Donald Trump's appeal to African Americans will work in some measure?
I think over time, if he stays on it, look, I'm with black people a lot, and here's what they tell me. They say, you know what, we want to hear it. We want people to ask for our vote. See, the Democrats don't ask for their vote. They just automatically assume that it's going to happen. They take them for granted. So I think that over time, black people will find it refreshing that somebody's out there actually working for their vote, because the black vote has unfortunately monolithically gone to the Democrats, but the Democrats have taken blacks for granted, and I think over time this thing is going to change.
Sheriff, what's your reaction to the president waiting so long to go visit the folks in Baton Rouge after all the flooding, and the fact that Black Lives Matters, those groups are not there either? They're being criticized for that.
Well, that's typical of the phony nature of these individuals. Look, he's an elitist. He's at Martha's Vineyard while American people are suffering down in Louisiana. I'll tell you, it just made my stomach sick to see what those people are enduring, but they're strong down there. They're resilient down there in Louisiana, as most Americans are across the United States. They didn't wait around for him to do anything, and like you said, he was pressured to go down there, so he'll do the obligatory thing now that the vacation's over. He'll do the photo op. He'll hug a couple people. He'll get back on the Air Force One and go about his day. Look, the Black Lives Matter, they don't care about black lives. They don't care about anybody's life. They only care about political power. This George Soros-funded operation has exploited people for purely political power. I am not shocked. I've unmasked these people several years ago, including on your program. I told you this was a political construct, and it had nothing to do with black lives. This was an organized effort for the 2016 election to mobilize black votes.
Well, I got something else to do before we let you go. I got to get your comment on this 16-page guidance pamphlet, these memos. You handed out to relief workers so they understand how to hand out relief in a non-racist fashion, prioritizing neighborhoods over race, and they go into detail on it. Here's a tearaway of it. It says, care must be taken to assure that actions, both intentional and unintentional, do not exclude groups of people based on race, color, and national origin. Is that a big help?
No, look, President Obama views everything through the prism of race. He's a race hustler. He engages in race politics. Every time you turn around, this guy could take a bowl of cornflakes with chocolate milk poured in, and he could find some racist angle to it. Those people, when they got those memos down in Louisiana, they should have put them in the shredder. They know what to do. They'll do this thing right. They don't have racism in their hearts. Only Barack Obama has racism in his heart.
Sheriff David Clarke, always a pleasure to get your point of view. Joining us live from Milwaukee today. Sir, thank you very much. Have a great week. All right, live from 48th and 6th Avenue, Kellyanne Conway, Donald Trump's brand new campaign manager, been in the job for a week, joins us live. How's the new job working out?
It's fabulous, actually. We have a very buoyant candidate. He's got a full schedule of events and speeches and a meeting this week all across the country. And as you see, we're on message, we're on task. Had a great call last night with our 50 state directors, which is a very important thing to me. I'm a big retail politics fan, Steve. I think you build things from the bottom up, so I want to make sure that they have everything they need to get us to victory.
Kellyanne, the other thing you were going to do this week is unveil your immigration policy like you've been doing. You decided to put that on hold and canceled some events. What went into that?
So one event was canceled in Colorado, Brian. We inherited this schedule, and although I think it's a great idea to have that kind of speech and certainly put together a full plan, immigration is such a complex issue, and Mr. Trump has been taking the counsel of many different people on this. He obviously has some very strong feelings and policy prescriptions with respect to immigration, but he's speaking to people to understand how to execute on those ideas.
Is he changing his approach? Because someone said a year ago he talked about a deportation force, and maybe now it's changed a little. Has it changed?
No,
or?
Here's how I would describe it. And I sat in that meeting on Saturday that's getting all the tension. I think it's been reported and distorted a bit based on somebody who was in the room. He has said exactly the same thing all along. Let's enforce the law. And if you enforce the law, a lot of good things start happening with respect to deporting people who have committed crimes and certainly protecting American workers. You know, many American workers now feel like they are competing with illegal immigrants as well as people in factories in Mexico or China or robots somewhere else. And so we want to be fair to everyone. I think the conversation about immigration that he would like to have is the one that talks about fairness to everyone, not just fairness to the 11 million, which is the way the left always characterizes it, but fairness to the American workers, fairness to our communities, fairness to our law enforcement, fairness to employers also. Should they be asked to do more than just sign up for E-Verify and wash their hands clean of that type of enforcement? The other thing is we think on immigration, there are very few issues where Hillary is actually even to the left of Barack Obama. Her plans are so radical. In some estimates, she would allow millions and millions of new illegal immigrants over the next several years. And she has also shown a liking to the executive order approach to amnesty. And so she's also broadcasting now she has no interest in working with the Congress on such an important issue.
And Kellyanne, staying on the topic of immigration, Donald Trump was on Bill O'Reilly's show. Let's take a listen to a soundbite, what he said about immigration, and then we'll get your reaction.
Thank you.
We're going to obey the existing laws. Now, the existing laws are very strong. The existing laws, the first thing we're going to do, if and when I win, is we're going to get rid of all of the bad ones. We got gang members, we have killers, we have a lot of bad people that have to get out of this country. We're going to get them out, and the police know who they are. They're known by law enforcement who they are. We don't do anything. They go around killing people and hurting people, and they're going to be out of this country so fast your head will spin. We have existing laws that allow you to do that. As far as everybody else, we're going to go through the process.
What will that process be?
For the 11 million that are here and have not committed any crimes.
And that's what we're discussing, because obviously it's a very complex issue. I don't think you can put it in a soundbite or rush through a speech, let alone a plan. But I can tell you public opinion-wise, two things that catch our eye, Ainsley. One is many Americans feel like it's become easier for illegal immigrants to get here and more difficult for legal immigrants to get here. They know that there's a process. We're taught to stand in line at a very young age. That seems like a reasonable cost of admission to folks. Number two, when Mr. Trump says, let's enforce the laws, you may say, yeah, but we've heard that before. No. It's such a novel concept to people in Washington. They always want to layer more laws, and public opinion shows that the vast majority of Americans want to enforce the laws and not just add more laws.
Before you go, because one of the things he talked about yesterday was a special prosecutor expedited series of events.
For Hillary Clinton.
Right, exactly. For the people looking in, why is this such a big deal?
It's a big deal, Steve, because even for those who have sort of, quote, moved on from the email server, that's already baked in the 11% of Americans who say she's an honest and trustworthy number. But it's important for people to realize this is exactly what he's talking about, a system that benefits the insiders, that's rigged and corrupt, and also government that doesn't work for us. What in the world are people at the State Department doing? Doing all these special favors. I see the spin from the left this morning. It's that there's no evidence that she granted favors, just access. In Washington, D.C., access is the biggest favor you can possibly have. And look, you're the State Department. You should be busy getting women and young girls rights and respect and education and health care and dignity across this globe. Not worried about, the Prince of Bahrain. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Welcome back to Fox and Friends. Do you remember when Hillary Clinton said this?
I responded right away and provided all my emails that could possibly be work-related.
Did you hear that? She gave them all her emails, she said then.
Thank goodness.
Well, the FBI, Steve, has just uncovered another 15,000 emails sent to and from Hillary Clinton through her private email server that were not disclosed by the Democratic presidential nominee. And now a federal judge has ordered the State Department to expedite their release.
Every once in a while you forget about 15,000 emails. It happens to all of us. This is newly released emails reveal that Clinton's chief aide, Huma Abedin, helped expedite meetings with the Secretary of State, Clinton's top-level Clinton Foundation donors. Joining us right now, former Dade County Circuit Judge Alex Ferreira. Judge Alex, welcome. Is this a problem for you as we take a look at these 15,000 emails, and we already saw 750 pages?
Yeah, it's a huge problem. I just don't know that it's going to amount to much, because I think the State Department has as we've seen for the last year and a half, slow-walked everything that had to do with the email investigation, and I think they're going to do the same thing again. One of the things that I'm really unclear about is why this federal judge gave a September 22nd deadline for them to turn over the documents and then set a status conference for the exact same day for them to come in and explain how they're progressing. That's not a deadline, that's a suggestion. If you're going to require them to turn in the documents on September 22nd, you set a status conference every week for them to come in and say how they're progressing. That way you know you're going to get the documents on 22nd.
But Judge, has the FBI already seen this? Is this just for our and for the Judicial Watch's investigation? But the FBI's already taken this into account, right?
Yeah, they have, and that's why I don't think criminally, I don't think anything's going to come from it. But now it's a matter of saving face for the election. And,
sure.
You know, the State Department, this is Obama and Hillary's State Department. And it would be no different if it was a Republican administration or a Republican State Department. We're long beyond the period of time where the government acted on behalf of all American citizens. We're now at a point where it acts on behalf of its party. So now what is going to happen is the State Department is going to slow walk this through the election. They'll come in on the 22nd, and they'll say, you know, we're making progress. We need another 60 days. If they get 30, that takes them to the end of October, and then you'll see a dribble of emails. That's my expectation. Maybe, you know, maybe I'm being a little too suspicious of them.
Well, if the past is prologue, you're probably right. It's what we used to call in Latin quid pro cash. It looks like a little of this for the cash. Right. I want to ask you about this. Okay, so we know there are just mountains of email out there. Where did she get the idea to set up this private email server? As it turns out, she has repeatedly pinned the blame on Colin Powell, former Secretary of State. Listen to this, Judge.
Secretary Powell has admitted he did exactly the same thing. He had such a distinguished record. You know, I have served my country as well. We both did the same thing.
Now we know Colin Powell had a private email account.
Just recently, Colin Powell's emails were retroactively classified from more than 10 years ago.
Right.
As he said, that was an absurdity. I could not agree more.
Well, now Colin Powell has come out and he said, you know, she's trying to pin it on me. She had a private server, which he never did, in her house a year before the advice. And so he has recounted that he does not remember this story that she apparently told somebody who's written a book that at 2009 dinner at Madeleine Albright's house, she said, Hillary Clinton said, any advice? And he said, well, set up a private email account. He doesn't remember that. And now Condi Rice doesn't remember that either. So it looks like this is just a little fairy tale.
It probably is a little fairy tale. It's nothing's going to come of that either. I mean, the bottom line is if she told that to the FBI, it wouldn't constitute what is required for perjury, which is a material misrepresentation under oath. It would just be, you know, her saying, well, that's the way I remember it, and that
Sure.
would be the end of that. That's not going anywhere in all reality.
Yeah, we all know that. Well, the mainstream media is not even talking about this. They don't even care.
No.
It seems that the Justice Department doesn't either. Yet, Ryan Lochte, you would think he's public enemy #1. What's worse, Judge?
Well, the problem with Ryan Lochte is that he's not their horse. You know, the media no longer reports facts as facts. They report opinions as facts. And, you know, all you have to do is look at the New York Times over the last month since the die has been cast on who the nominees are for each party. And every day there is a negative article about Donald Trump. Donald Trump hasn't changed his tone. Donald Trump is still on the same line. Donald Trump is this and that. But with all of her low ratings, with all of the email scandals, with the Benghazi stuff, with everything that you have on Hillary, the articles about her are scarce. Now, of course, today they had to write one because 15,000 emails, how do you ignore that?
Yeah.
But if you look at it, Ryan Lochte got what he deserved for what he did. He got a negative attention. But what I'd like to see is just like you saw Al Roker tearing him up and saying he lied, he lied, he lied. He didn't misrepresent, he didn't misstate, he lied. Why isn't he saying that about Hillary? Why isn't he saying Hillary lied? She didn't misrepresent, because she is their horse, and they're going to whip that horse to the election day.
No argument there.
True.
And you know what? Donald Trump's lucky to get one negative article in the New York Times. That's a good day. Usually there's like 3 or 4.
Yeah, above the fold.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Judge.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Have a great day in Florida.